guys. Welcome to our Clinical Trials Facts Wednesdays. We're continuing our series on the regulatory authority findings from clinical trial sites around the world. And today we're going to be talking about reviewing and reporting of adverse events. It's going to be so interesting. And I have a resource link for you guys down below where you can read more about safety reporting. But before getting into that, I have two announcements to make. Guys, we have a WhatsApp group. Yes, click on the link, go join the WhatsApp group. It's an intimate setting. I'm getting questions answered. It's growing rapidly. Our whole platform is growing exponentially. And so we created a WhatsApp group so that we can really serve those of you who really want to be close to the Achaibo clinical platform even more and to really help you out. Next, for those of you who attended our webinar, thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. But I now have a new program that is launching. Super, super important. It's launching on the 20th, you guys. You have 4 more days to sign up for it. And I took our $3,500 program, and it's going to be $500. It's a 5-week intensive. It is going to, I'm rolling out the red carpet here. We're going to get questions answered. You're going to study clinical trials processes and terms and definitions. And then at the end, we're going to have Q&As as well. So it's for those of you who have been wanting to join. And guys, this is not happening anymore. It's 5 intensive sessions, 5 weeks. It's $100 a session. I even choke a little bit just saying it because that's not normally something I do, but I had some time this end of the year, and I really believe that there's something about ending the year with service at its highest level. And for me, service at its highest level in this case means literally just giving away a program for as little as possible, only charging for the administrative costs. So guys, it's going to close down on the 20th of November. Go sign up, come join us. It's going to be on Sundays at 9 a.m. Central Time. You bring your notebook. It's going to be fun. I'm going to do success strategies as well. It's going to be filled with a lot of high energy. So get ready. You'll learn a lot. Everything that you need to know to take the next steps. And if you have a clinical research site, I know sometimes it's challenging, right? Site personnel, training, tell me about it. Many sites that I've set up, that's always a challenge. You sign them up, have them come join us because they're going to learn a lot and it's really going to cause them to really be great researchers. But also if you're a clinician, medical doctor, come join us and learn a lot more about this industry, the terms and definitions and how you can get involved. And of course, nurses, African healthcare professionals. Hey, I have my little mic here calling all African healthcare professionals, come take this course and have the experience that you need. Now, I am Tengu Muna, by the way, before all the announcements. I'm the CEO and founder of Achaibo Clinical. Guys, I'm passionate about clinical trials. It completely changed my life. And my hope is that as more and more of you get involved on this platform, we can actually expand the number of African patients or patients of African descent who are in clinical trials. We get more medical doctors involved, we get more nurses, more pharmacists, more lab techs, more African HCPs involved. And that way, we can give our own patients access. And I am here to empower you to be able to do that. And so this is the Wednesday chat. We talk about clinical trials. On Sundays, we talk about successful strategies and success mindset and inspiration and things like that. Now, let me go ahead and start the talk today. It's going to be a very interesting one, and it's really the foundation of what clinical trials are about. So we are talking about how you're going to review and report adverse events. And before starting, let me go ahead and share my screen, you guys. AE reporting here. So let's start from the beginning. Okay, so with top RA findings around the world, these are regulatory authority findings that have been going on around the world. So I picked the top ones because then if you're wanting to join the industry, you're already in the industry and you have a clinical research site, these are things that you want to pay attention to. So today we're going to talk about, so one of the big findings is the reporting and review of adverse events. There were no reporting on review of adverse events. I was livid when I saw this because adverse events are huge in clinical trials, right? Because that's the bedrock for safety for patients who are participating. So let me explain what adverse events are. This is an untoward medical occurrence in a patient or clinical investigation administered a pharmaceutical product which does not necessarily have a causal relationship with the treatment. So an AE can be unfavorable. It can be an unintended sign, including an abnormal lab finding, a symptom, or disease temporarily associated with the use of the medicinal product, whether or not related to it or not. So what that means is that when you are running a clinical trial and they say in the protocol, it's written that you're going to be collecting adverse events from screening or when the patient signs informed consent or whatever, what that means is that any event that occurs, those are adverse events. If the patient had a headache, now you collected it, but there are other things involved. The protocol defines things a certain way. So for example, if we're studying a migraine, a product for migraine, and they're classifying certain types of headache and seeing how that product can help. Let's say it's chronic migraine. Now, if the patient has chronic migraine, it will not be an adverse event because we assume that as the patient is participating in the trial, right? They have a chronic migraine. We're talking about events that are exacerbated and PRAO is defined in the protocol. You want to really pay attention to this, you guys. This is so important. How are you going to collect the adverse events for the patients that are participating, and what is the criteria for that? Super. And this is a clinical judgment, okay? There was clinical judgment involved within the parameters of the clinical trials operations. The other thing that is even more to the next level is a serious adverse event or a serious adverse drug reaction. This results in death. Is life-threatening. Okay, now, results in death is the event that results in the death. Death is not the adverse event. Just remember that. I know this is a huge thing at clinical research sites. It's, I would get, the adverse event was death. I'm like, no, it's not. What caused the death is the adverse event. It's life-threatening. Life-threatening. They almost died, but they did not die. It threatened their life. It's a horrible thing that happened, right? Okay, they had maybe someone, they were running and then they fell and they bashed their head. They were alive, but that was a life-threatening event. Requires inpatient hospitalization or prolonged existing hospitalization. While they're on the trial, something happened, they were hospitalized overnight. But then also, they were already in the hospital, something happened and it caused their existing, maybe they were supposed to be there for 3 or 4 days, they had to spend a longer period. Results in persistent or significant disability, incapacity. Again, causes them to be disabled, right? They are participating in the clinical trial and something happens and the person cannot walk or they cannot talk or they cannot hear something. Really, they're not able to do their normal activities. Congenital anomaly birth defect, huge. There is actually a separate form to capture any pregnancy birth effect. There's a follow-up that is basically woven into the clinical trial. These are things that are very important, you guys. So SAE, an adverse drug reaction in the clinical experience with a new medicinal product or its new usages, particularly as a therapeutic dose has not been established. We are looking for noxious, unintended response to the medicinal product related to any dose that will be considered an adverse reaction. But here's the thing. The phrase responses to a medicinal product means that a causal relationship exists between the medicinal product and an adverse event, and it's at least a reasonable possibility. What that means is that it cannot be ruled out. So for example, you're on a dermatology project, there's a cream that the patient, maybe for psoriatic arthritis or something, you guys, and they have to rub that. And as a result of rubbing it, there's some rashes, but that patient had some other bumps in other parts of their body prior to that trial. Maybe there were other bumps that had happened, and then all of a sudden they take the rash, and oh my God, you notice there's a different sort of bumps that appear, right? Now, there is a reasonable relationship. There must be a relationship between, the relationship cannot be ruled out because why? They had some bumps in other parts of their bodies. And as a result of taking it, there's some new bumps in the area where they were putting the cream on. The most important thing here is that this is clinical judgment. So my principal investigators, you're going to have to judge this. Okay. The reason why there are challenges with reporting of adverse events and serious adverse events and UDRs, unexpected drug reactions, this is the thing. It's because many times the clinician is delegating so much that you forget that at the end of the day, The clinical experience side and your clinical research side, you are supposed to be on top of that. You're supposed to know all the adverse events. You're supposed to be assessing them, right? That is super important. It's not something that you want to delegate to somebody else. Assessment of adverse events is your responsibility. This is the one that is very important because, you know, an adverse drug reaction is one thing. If it's expected, right, there are certain programs that have been tested. We know what's going to happen. But then you have the unexpected drug reaction, right? Okay, so you're in a clinical trial where you're seeing the relationship between plantain flour and cassava flour. Plantain is taken Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Cassava flour is taken on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Okay, you guys. Now, it has been determined that when you have some of these products, you normally would get constipation, which is not, I don't think that's the case with plantain flour, but hey, right? So you might get, when it's cooked to a certain temperature, you might get constipation. If you don't eat it with like some okra soup, the cassava flour and the okra soup, you might not be in a very good place. You might have some gas, a little bit of constipation. You might have a headache. Guys, it's determined. And same thing with the plantain flour. All of a sudden, the patient who's on a plantain flour Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, they come to your clinical trial site and say, the other day I did the plantain flour and my whole body started itching. So that is an unexpected drug reaction. It was not in the investigator's brochure. It's an adverse reaction, the nature of severity of which is not consistent with the applicable product information. E.g., investigator's brochure for an unapproved investigational product or package insert of a product that is a characteristic of an approved product. So this is not the norm. Normally, when you have your plantain flour pill 3 days a week, we know you get constipation, you get some stuff happening, you know, a little bit of stomach pain. All of a sudden, your whole body starts itching, maybe 1 hour after you consume it. So that is an unexpected adverse drug reaction. Very important, you guys. You want to pay. So there's 2 things that I want us to look at here. We have the review piece. You're a principal investigator at clinical research side. All of a sudden, you're like, oh my God, this patient is having all these events going on. Maybe it's an exacerbation of previous things. Whatever it is, you want to review it, you want to assess it, you want to make sure that you know you're providing your clinical judgment based on the criteria that has been given to you in terms of AE reporting. That's the first piece. You review it, you assess it, you say, okay, I see what's going on. And then, of course, you always want to make sure you're signing to show that you're reviewing it right. Reporting it, that's another, so many different criteria for reporting. I recommend that you go to the link that I'm going to be providing, kind of, you know, look at some of the resources. There are any adverse event that is experienced has to report it within 24 hours from when you're aware of it. That is just the norm. Now, in terms of how they're reported to the regulatory authorities, there are time periods that has to happen. Usually the unexpected events always get expedited because that's super important, right? I mean, it's unexpected. Something can happen, it might affect the patients across the trial. So you want to be aware, but the most important thing, just from the level of the clinical research side, or if you're somebody who's in this industry as a career person, and you are looking at how adverse events are being assessed across the clinical trial, you want to make sure that it's being reported on time. You want to make sure that you're providing all the information. So typically, for example, a serious adverse event, once you become aware of it, you report it immediately. You don't need to have all the information. AEs are different. You usually will not be reporting. You will be documenting those but the serious adverse event, unexpected serious adverse events, unexpected serious drug events, those are the ones that are like huge. Just remember SAE, USDR, EUDRs, unexpected drug reactions, unexpected adverse event, serious adverse events. The minute that you become aware of it, just start reporting it, provide all the information that you have at that moment. And then as time progresses, then they'll be asking for more and more information from you. Important, you guys, 2 things. You review it, you assess it, but you have to report it on time. And you can report their reporting criteria for the serious ones and unexpected ones. And in general, a regular adverse event, there are sheets on which you have to report it for the clinical trial. Make sure it's in your database. So what are the best practices here? You want to know the reporting timelines, okay? I talk about is what is the reporting timelines for a serious adverse event? And based on the protocol, there are also other things that can be captured. You really have to pay attention to that. you have to assess it because you're painting a picture, right? Really, you're saying, okay, this patient experienced this at this time, they were hospitalized, or following up with everything that is going on. You want to start painting that picture, and that way you can fill in the gaps at the end. Medical history is so important. These are all clinical judgments, but I'm speaking from an operational perspective based on what we see in all these inspections and findings. Medical history is key. You want to know. You do your best to obtain as much medical history as possible so that when things start happening, it's not out of the blue. And if something happens, then you have a better way of managing the patient. Look at medication, and then, of course, follow up, follow up, follow up. I'll sing the song of follow up, follow up, follow up on your patients. When a patient completes a clinical trial, that is not the end of it. There follow-up that has to occur now, especially with the way clinical trials are being set up now. It's so important because it's all about patient-centric clinical trials. And so safety is at the center. A patient comes to the site, and when they were there, they had a horrible exacerbation of their chronic migraine. And at the end, it's still ongoing. You want to keep following up until conclusion. Okay, you guys, that is super important. So those are the best practices. Again, other ones, understanding reporting requirements, clinical judgment is important. Give the full picture, complete the mosaic, document. And then I talk about an audit trail and breadcrumbs. If you are assessing it, make sure you make notes. As the principal investigator or sub-investigator, your clinic notes are in there so that when the event is being assessed, people have a full picture of what happened. There are no gaps. This is a long one because it's important, and it is a disservice for us not to capture events for our patients participating in a clinical trial. I don't think that it's done on purpose. I just think that it's a lack of understanding. So my hope is that you watch this video, whether you're coming into the industry or you're already in the industry, this can help you as you're assessing adverse events at your site and understanding how important it is to make sure it's captured appropriately. Again, report it within the 24 hours that you're aware of it, okay? Just start the reporting process, really important. Okay, you guys, this is the resource. It's going to be on the link. You can take a look at that. It's the FDA subpart 312 for the 21 CFRs, section 12. And CS at Achaibo Clinical, you can email us for questions. The WhatsApp group is even better because I can just answer your question on the fly, Monday through Friday, you guys. This is the Facebook group, so make sure you join it. We have LinkedIn, and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel and watch all the past videos and keep learning and keep growing. Okay, you guys, that is it for today. It was a long one, but I hope that you got value out of it. And again, I am here to serve and support you. And my staff is also here for that. B, Vera, and Julian, they're here for you. So I will see you on another chat, and have a fantastic rest of the week. Bye.